This was the kind of chapter I needed after a very huge disappointment about another manga that I recently uploaded. This was what I needed to see. Although I still have much confusion, but that's because I just don't understand the law. I really don't. Then again, I never really understood economic law and everything else. Is that one of the problems when you're living in democracy, or is that just because when people think that a system works, they don't care about listening to anything else? In a way, this Kingdom manga is saying the same thing. Everybody follows a flow, and as long as that flow works, they don't care to question how about anything else, because we care about our own lives so very much that we don't care what happens to anything else. I'm not saying what this chapter just did is the same, but it does bring the question in: how do you unite people under one banner? Hi, for those who are watching, it's the Angry Enemy Fan, the Despair Reviewer, to bringing you the Kingdom Chapter 494. We are actually back on towards the bureaucratic stuff. We thought this chapter would have ended with with the after the Hishin unit, but no. It's what I meant is, are we going to war? But no, we're still not done with after what Sei said to Saitaku, and it's now become knowledge to all of Shin that Saitaku has died. But we're introduced back to a fellow that was very much insufferable for a very long time. First of all, Shobun-kun ponders very much, even though he is still having his heart very moved by Sei's declaration. He is also a bit conflicted. So he asks Mr. Shi that as a bureaucrat you have more experience and talent than me, although you are a distasteful fella. That is actually kind of funny. It's also how he says, was that distasteful necessary? Are you the most expert on legalism? Mr. Shea says correct, but immediately also says that is not true. Only the keeper of legalism is the one, and that is Rishi, one of the former pillars of Ryufu, and was probably the least sympathizing pillar of Ryufu. Then again, Mobo wasn't really that sympathizing either, but after Oki's sacrifice, I wouldn't say he became more modest. I would say more like he became less reckless. Mobo was more like is a wrecking ball the wrong thing to say describe him? I mean, a wrecking ball that doesn't even stop. After that, it became more like a blade that wouldn't even stop, but still sharp. But although behind that, Mobo still had an arrogance, but it was Rishi who was most insufferable ones. In fact, he even hid so many secrets. So they are going to him because he was the keeper of legalism. And Shubei-kun asks him many questions. First, they both know that Saitaku has died. And it turns out that he's spending his time in prison writing new legalism, seeing that he was once wanting something big as a pillar of Ryufu, but now he's just a simple legalist. And he reads and studies law. And it's exactly that's why Shobun-kun is here. Because even though Rishi says that law will continue to evolve even after you and I are dead, he asks him to what will happen if Shin will be united all under one banner as law. And Rishi is also surprised when he hears that it was Sei who talked about that. But Shubei-kun, even though a bureaucrat, cannot completely understand law. And so Rishi begins to talk a little bit about it. It's what is I can see a little bit about what would happen if the states can be governed by a law, even though it's only a assumption. But he also says the same thing we have all wondered. Wouldn't we all presume that that kind of idea of Sei would end in bloodlust, because after all, everyone is an enemy? That's exactly the same thing Shobukun saying, because the new citizens of our nation were only recently enemy. But according to Rishi, from a legalist point of view, it's because the cultures are different. And that is something we actually didn't think about. It is true. Although we only see that Kingdom manga universe is a kill and kill universe, or more like a dog eats dog universe, there is still so many different cultures. I mean, for some of us, they all look the same, but they also have different values and different perspectives. May even have different system of kings and stuff like that. So Rishi describes that if you truly intend to government that is based on law, then what should erupt will be a separate war in itself, legalism. He means that this won't be a war of just simple hacking and slashing each other to death, more like bureaucrats facing each other, like when chancellors talk on how to create order, and that is actually true. As much as this is a dog versus dog universe in the Kingdom manga, it's at the same time also have a lot of different law in it. Think about it. Karin managed to pacify Shu's disaster only 1 month, or was it a week, after this all this disaster. Meaning that although I think Karin is because of her genius mind and intimidating personality, so I think she intimidated the entire world into following her lead. But at the same time, it's just there. Even if you do make the king surrender, you still will have to talk with the bureaucrats in order to find a single law that they all follow, someone where they will unite the different six states under one banner into one identity. So Rishi describes that law is a wish, a way to guide both nation and its people toward the idle stone that one envisions. After unification, just what would you hope to happen to all the people living in these lands? How do you wish to live their lives? What direction will you wish them to take? Ponder the answers to those questions well. If you do that, then you can naturally begin to see the laws that you desire. Meaning, I think those words almost sound like this is how we can make our former enemies into our friends. This also answers another question. Saitaku, or was it the king, Oken, said that he wanted Shobun-kun and not Shohei-kun to, I mean, he wanted Sei's most trusted advisor, not the military advisor, to be by the side in hearing this. And actually, Shobun-kun asked himself why, even though he is a veteran from the great king's time, he's still actually a bit mocked of not being that uh, diverse. But it's also the fact that even though Shobe-kun is who he is also a man that can bow his head and admit, I am not perfect, which is why we need your strength. Which is probably the reason why Saitaku made him listen to this, in case it was exactly the same answer. Because Shube-kun, after hearing about what Rishi talked about how law is, realizes that so that Shuhei-kun could find a realization of his own. So with realizing that they need the strength of Rishi's way of knowing to law in order to find a law that will guide all the people of the different states into more of a peaceful place. Well, given how the law works in the real life right now, it's we're only heading towards disaster. But if we're looking in a manga perspective, then they'll need this strength. So Shohei-kun bows and begs, lend us your strength. That's basically this chapter. So yeah, it seems that Rishi will get back. I actually began to wonder what happened to that guy. Didn't said he wanted Rishi's power? Guess Rishi didn't really want to serve Sei, or maybe Sei still locked him up. Do not exactly know how this prison works, but yeah, we got some information on how law works and what Rishi, even though Rishi had been very insufferable, what he says even though we do not completely understand it, because as I said before, law and economy and every sorry, every stuff like that, it's so damn complicated for some people, me included. But and even though we may not completely understand what he says here, we at the same time do understand what he says, just because we have a feeling that everything has different cultures, which is mean that if everyone have one law at the same time, they can you become one identity. But at the same time, there will be always clashes because there is always someone who will disagree. That is why by watching that, there will be a law will evolve into a system that no one will be oppressed by that, so to speak. Almost like the same what they promise with democracy, but then again, democracy is currently heading towards disaster, if, in my book. But then again, don't get me wrong, that's not because I think that I'm gonna vote for the. I mean, if I ever did do it, I would vote for the wrong person. It's just that, as I said before, I do not like politics. Uh, in real life, I hate politics. But that's and when I read the mangas like this, it's not like I hate them more. Actually, I feel like if it only was this easy, and I know it's not easy. Hell, this manga makes us think it's easy because well, it's a manga, but no, it's such a complicated system. But we still follow it, and then we see in the flaws in our own lives. So what can they create? Kind of law that will follow China? As I would believe a selfish law. I mean, a law that you can only follow this, but who knows? I don't certainly. But Rishi will be back. Will he accept the offer? And what will happen now? We still haven't gotten back to the battlefield, but I guess the preparations are still not there yet. And I think Shin do need Rishi's strength, not only because of his knowledge of law, but also as Ribuku said, everything is moving according to his plan. So I think she needs someone unplanned. But then again, I know Rishi is only for law, but you know what I mean. Give me your thoughts if you have any.